All right, welcome. One of the things that we are doing with the Law and Finance show is that we are doing a lot more to focus on answering the questions that people are asking us. And one of the big questions that people have been asking us is, as we've aired in the Facebook group, if you're not a member of the Facebook group, you definitely want to check that out and join as a member of the Facebook group. But one of the things that we started doing in the Facebook group is started sharing some of the interviews that of the conversations that we've been having that have been very helpful for law firms and law firm owners to kind of understand, like, hey, what are some of those things about running the business side of a law firm that I may have never had a conversation about, or that, hey, I didn't learn in law school. So we're starting to do a lot more of that. And so, one of the things that we're going to do each week is when we play an interview, we'll come back and we'll talk about the financial side of it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today is all about talking about the financial side of defining your niche. So, stay tuned and we're going to come back with more. So now, welcome back. As I said, we're going to be talking about a topic, and this is an important topic that I think that is very, very crucial to a lot of people. And if you see me looking off to the left or right, what I also try to do is I'll try to share some things that I think will be very helpful. So one of the things that I'm going to try to do is share some different clips that I think may help us as we kind of navigate this conversation, and we really talk about, why this matters, why this is important. So, one of the things to keep in mind is when it comes down to, running your law firm, it's very easy to get focused, or it's very easy to not get focused and just to say, hey, we take anybody who will pay us, because that is a common thing that happens with a lot of business owners. In fact, it's something that happens also with accounting firms as well, where they just say, hey, we will accept any client who's willing to pay us. We will accept them as a client and do business with them. But one of the things that I learned is, if you're really trying to get serious about growing your business and taking your business to the next level, one of the things that you want to kind of shift to is less of, taking anybody who will do business with you, and focus a little bit more on who are the right people to do business with you. Now, I'm not going to lie, when you start going through that process of defining who your niche is, or who are the specific types of people you want to do business with, when you start to do that, one of the things that you may notice is that you might not have as many people to talk to, or there may not be as many people in your sales pipeline. But that's not a problem, because if you're talking to more of a focused audience, you're actually going to benefit even more by doing that. And we're going to walk through some, financial numbers, and I'm going to actually walk through an example and show you how that actually works, because it's something that really does make a big difference. Now, there's a couple areas that when you start to define your niche, that it really does financially change things in your business. In one aspect, when it comes down to, your staff, because one of the things that a lot of people are talking about, as I've met with probably over 35 different law firms. And one of the challenges that a lot of law firms have been experiencing is this issue of, like, not being able to find the right amount of staff. Like, many people have heard the term of the great resignation, or maybe you've heard it called by some other name. Whatever the case may be, there have been a lot of things where we have really seen a lot of challenges that people have had of finding the right staff. Well, if we know that finding the right staff is a problem or is a challenge, one of the things that we don't want to do is we don't want to keep our staff busy doing things that aren't actually adding value to the business. So when firms start to define what their niche is and they start to define who is the real customer that they want to work with, one of the things that they start to see is the stress level on their employees go down, or they don't need to hire as many people. Like, I was working with a firm last week, and one of the challenges they were running into is they said, we're continuing to grow our revenue, we're bringing in more clients, but the firm is still not profitable. And one of the things, we took a step back and we looked at it and we said, okay, all right, let's really dig into the details. And we took a huge data load of their caseloads for the last 5 years. And our team, we ran some analysis and we came back. And one of the things that was very obvious is, and I was like, when I compare the time your staff is spending on these cases, and I compare the types of cases you have, I'm like, there are about 5 different types of cases that you've been accepting that are just draining your staff's time. You guys don't make that much money on those cases, and they take longer for your team to do. So what we started working on was a strategy of saying, like, hey, what if you stop accepting these types of cases? And as they started working on that and they started looking at it, they were like, you know what? Their team can actually be more productive. They can actually be more effective with their marketing process because they now know specifically what types of cases they want to market, what types of cases they want to focus on. And that was a huge game changer for them because their people were happier because they were less stressed, and the firm owner would be happier because they would be more profitable. Now, I get it, when you do start to define your niche, and one of the challenges that a lot of people have is they say, well, if I focus on a specific area, won't that put limits on how big my business can grow? And one of the things that I try to help people understand is that just because you're focusing on the niche doesn't mean that your business can't grow or you can't expand the revenue. What it does mean is that if you do focus on a niche, what you'll have to do is just be a little bit more strategic about how do you find people that are a good fit for that niche, as opposed to just trying to advertise for everyone. So whenever anyone or any business owner I'm working with, whenever they're starting to switch to focusing in a niche area, one of the things that I will be very honest with you and tell you is that in the short term, it is going to seem it's going to seem like your business is taking a step backwards, where your revenue may go down or the amount of money you see coming into the business may decrease for a period of time. But that is because you're working through this transition of whereas before you were accepting everyone, now you are focused on a specific group. And it does take a little bit of learning on figuring out, how do I get in front of that specific group? Now, I'll be honest, my background is in accounting and finance. I mean, if you're a law firm and you're looking for, sorry, my background is accounting and finance. My background is not marketing. And if you're looking for someone to help you actually come up with a marketing strategy, my advice is reach out to someone like Jordan Ostroff, or someone like Kristen David. Like, they do a lot of great things of helping people. They have some approaches to helping people figure out the marketing side of their law firm, and they can help you figure out strategies to get to a target audience. Whereas I come into play is really helping you understand the numbers of it. So one of the things that I want to do is I'm going to share my screen and we're going to walk through an example. And this is something that I walked a firm through so they can kind of get an idea and understand what I was trying to express to them. So let me make this a little bit bigger. So when it comes down to your marketing kind of conversion, your process is usually going to be, you're going to have some type of population of people that you're advertising to, and then a certain percentage of those people will become leads or qualified leads. And then some of those qualified leads will become consultations. And then some of those consults will then turn into clients. And then if we've done an analysis to figure out what your average case value is, or what your average revenue per customer is, then we can kind of do the math and kind of figure out like, hey, what's the total value of the cases or the new clients that you just onboarded? So let's look at a scenario of someone where they were not focused on a niche. They were just advertising to whoever they could get there, whoever was willing to look at their ad. That's who they were trying to advertise to. So, I mean, from this, we see that they started off with 275 people. And of that, 15% of those people actually became qualified leads. The lead, that ratio was a bit low is because they were trying to talk to everyone. And then, and let's say 50% of those leads actually signed up to do a consult and actually wanted to pay for a consult. And then let's say 31%, it was like roughly between 31 to 32% of those consults actually turned into clients who said, yes, we want to move forward with your service. And at the time, that firm, their average revenue per client was about $7,500, which means the total value of the new cases that they just closed is about $47,000. Now, let's look at a scenario where they came back and they wanted to say, hey, how do we work with our marketing strategists to become more niche focused? How do we define who we actually want to talk to? So let's look at those numbers. Now, as I said before, when you start to focus on a niche, what you will realize is you will end up talking to less people. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because what tends to offset it is that your conversion rates are going to be higher. Because if you're talking to people who are a better fit for what you are trying to offer, what you will notice is your total population may decrease, but your conversion rates will be a little bit higher. So in this scenario, they only got in front of 151 people, but their conversion rate ended up there. I guess you say the number of people who became leads was about 25%. And then the number of people that were leads that actually wanted to do the consult was about 55%. And where the bigger difference started happening is the number of consults that said, hey, I want to move forward to do business with you, was about 40%. So you see, in this case, when they defined a niche and they had a niche approach, they ended up generating more value for their business by talk, and they were talking to less people. And when you think about that for your staff, let's say if you tell your staff you need to make 275 calls, and that's going to generate about, let's say, $48,000 in client value, or I guess you say contract value, as opposed to telling your staff, hey, you need to make about 151 calls, and that's going to generate client or contract value of about $62,000. As a smart business owner, the question you have to ask yourself is, which scenario do I prefer? Do I prefer for my team to work harder for less money, or do I want to put in the work to really narrow down and define my niche, and then find a way to talk to more people that actually want to hear from me? So in total, we're going to talk to less people, but those are people who are actually looking to hear from you, which improves your results and increases your chances of making more money. So that is a simple way of looking at, like I said, that whole topic around trying to make sure that you have a great, or I guess a better understanding of why it makes sense to actually focus on a niche. Because when you get more clear in your business about who you're trying to talk to, what ends up happening is your people have to work less and you have to work less, but you give yourself the chance to be more profitable, and you also give yourself that time to actually enjoy the profitability. Because if you're making more money by doing more, I guess you say, targeted work, you're working less, but you're making more money because you're getting smart about how you are reaching out to your target audience. That is a win-win all around for your business. So thanks for tuning in this week to this week's Law and Finance Live. If you're looking for ideas on how to manage and grow a profitable law firm, this Facebook group is perfect for you, because every week we are featuring conversations with successful lawyers and businesses related to law firms on tips, ideas, and technology that are helping many people grow and manage a profitable law firm. So if you're looking for great tips and ideas, you definitely want to click the link below so you can join the conversation and be part of the Law Firms and Finance Facebook group.